Okay, that should fix it. Y'all let me know if that fixed it. I'm sorry. That's unusual. must just been a timing thing. I think that fixed it. So let me get a 5x5 or a thumbs up in the chat there. Let me know if we're good. So I'll just start over. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for tuning in this morning. I see that view count is spiking pretty comfortably. I like to see that. Very basic coverage this morning. I'm gonna take it kind of easy this morning. As y'all can see, I've got my Jedi robe on instead of my usual Hawaiian shirt because it's a little nippy out this morning. So, but we're gonna take a quick look at some of the coverage. I've got an article up from Sky News that looks like it's pretty close to the latest straight up article about it, but frankly, I'll be closing the show up right at 8:00 today because we've got people down there and I need to check on them. Longtime friend of the show, John Byrne, is basically at ground zero and we haven't heard from him, so I'm concerned about him. Mario, frequent co-host, is on the other side of Florida, so he shouldn't have gotten hit as hard as they did in Tampa. Bradenton, Florida was essentially ground zero. I mean, they just got smacked with it. Now the reporting that we've been seeing leading up to landfall last night said that Milton was essentially at the mathematical limit of the possible strength of a hurricane, according to meteorologists. We talked about this yesterday, and Thomas Waller pointed out some key information, not least of which is you're talking about a storm at the mathematical limit of the strength of storms, right? It's a Category 5 hurricane. We don't have a Category 6. There's kind of a theoretical designation where a Category 6 might be considered, but Category 5 encompasses the mathematical limit of the strength of winds and the sheer volume of the thing. 48 trillion cubic feet of fuck your roof, your trees, and all those cows just hit Florida smack in the face. Just plowed right into it. We're seeing near total power outages in many parts of Florida. I'll grant this has produced some great images, like this one from the space station. I hate doing it with this. There we go. Like this one from the space station. This is one of those things that I was really trying to hammer on yesterday. Is mathematically, it is difficult for a professionally trained mathematical mind to even process the data, to even process the numerical data that describes the size of a storm like this, right? You talk about the national debt being 30 some $trillion now. If you were able to earn $1 a second, it would take you a little over a week to make $1 million, a little over a couple of months to make $1 billion, and several thousand years to make $1 trillion. Right? The scale of those numbers is difficult for a mind to process. So, in other terms, if you stack $1 bills, $1 million is a 10-foot by 10-foot cube. And you cannot even see the extremity edges of a cube stacked similarly in the quantity of $1 trillion. The storm is 48 trillion cubic feet of no. That said, we did appear to see some relief. Let me reload this coffee cup. We did appear to see some relief, I suppose. The storm appears to have calmed down to a Category 3 just before making landfall. But let me tell you something. We're sitting in the middle of nowhere, Georgia, right now, where we just got hit by Hurricane Helene, and my family, we were lucky. We didn't lose any of the structures on our property, the shed, the studio, the house, all fine. But we've got trees down all over the property, and I'm talking big, strong, thick, tall oak trees. Just it's like they weren't even blown over. They fell over in the flooding. The river that runs by the house flooded substantially, and it, just the sheer volume of water, the wind doesn't even have to blow the trees over. The soil gets wet and loose and just gives up, right? And they don't fall so much as they kind of get tired and lay down. Sir Blip Blop the Third says, "Yo, bro, I know something else big, strong, and tall. Yeah, I'm right here. I'm talking to you. I'm hard to miss." And now you are mistaken, but nice try. So I of course I'm concerned. We were going to have Mario call in from where he is in Florida and talk this morning, but we're not getting any connection with him. So I'm a little concerned about what he's up to, and I'll keep checking on him throughout the day. If I can get Mario online later today, which, definitely no promises. I strongly suspect that Florida just ran slap out of cell towers and power, etc. But if we can get him back online today, then I'll probably come back live, seeing down there. So right now we've got these images, and we're hearing some stories out of Hurricane Milton. This one from, oh no, screw your advertisements. I don't want to see your ads. There you go. Hurricane Milton carves deadly path through Florida, millions without power. Guys, we were without power. We didn't do the show for almost 2 weeks. For about half of that, we were out of power, and then we had to wait for the fiber optic cables to get repaired and restored. But Milton moved off Florida's east coast early Thursday morning after making landfall as a Category 3 storm around Tampa late Wednesday evening. The dangerous storm caused widespread power outages affecting over 3 million customers. So some 3 million people without power. But they're telling us that it has moved off the coast now. So, hopefully Florida is through the worst of it, and now they just have to try and, they're going to have to rebuild. Willem 9 says, when's the hurricane going to hit? It did. It done did it. So former President Trump's family is hosting 275 Florida Power and Light linemen at his hotel in Miami due to Hurricane Milton. You're amazing, and the Trump family and entire state of Florida appreciate you, the former president's son, Eric Trump, wrote on the social media platform X. Enjoy the rooms. They're the best in Florida. Be safe. The linemen are slated to respond to the aftermath of the hurricane. So they're not responding yet, right? The linemen are not working yet. Because let's be frank, it's Thursday morning. This shit just happened. It is barely not still happening. And before the linemen can do anything, somebody's got to get out and clear the roads. Now, you got that expectation that the government's going to do it. The DOT is going to get out there and clear the roads. Like I said, we live in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. When we needed roads cleared out here, we got out with chainsaws and pickup trucks, right? I live in a town with a population of less than 200 on purpose. When the roads need to get cleared, yeah, DOT came through later and was trimming trees and stuff, but the roads out here got cleared by rednecks and chainsaws. That's how we do. Patrick points out that Tampa was getting high tide around 4:30, 5 o'clock this morning, which was expected to make the flooding much worse. Yes, that is definitely a major factor that is going to, basically make the whole thing much less tenable. Real quick, Patrick, I just want to say, so I was in just a quick aside because I see Patrick's watching. I was in Conyers yesterday. I told y'all yesterday morning that night before last, the wife got hit by a deer, and y'all, I've got the dash cam footage. I may share that with you in the coming days. But when I say she got hit by a deer, I mean she got hit by a deer, not she hit one. That's not how it worked. But I've still got a mechanic that I trust in Conyers, and we took the van up there to get the front end rebuilt and get the headlights replaced, etc. So we were up there, and I stopped at the Quick Trip, Patrick, there at 138, and where 138 bends and hits 20 and does the weird thing across the street from the Wells Fargo. And I ran into Larry Cox, and he was telling me about, we had a good conversation about the biolab incident and Big Brother that just dropped dead. Larry was saying his last words were, this chemical disaster is killing people. It's killing people in our community. And then he walked off the podium, walked out the door of the meeting hall, and just switched off, dropped dead. Steve, nobody was hurt. The kids are fine, but it was the wife and all 4 kids in the minivan when the trophy-winning buck plowed into the side of her. And yes, I have the dash cam footage. We'll be having fun with that. Wow, I've got some trolls on Twitch this morning. That's random. I usually don't get that many Twitch trolls this early in the stream, especially on a day that we're not going over with a big topic. So, okay, Steve, brother, I got to get out there and just put a camera on you guys making wine sometime. But yeah, be safe out there. We love you, and we'll see you soon. So the linemen are slated to respond to the aftermath of the hurricane. The storm knocked out power across a large section of Florida, with more than 3.2 million homes and businesses without electricity, according to poweroutage.us, which tracks utility reports. And that's so big storms like this, you lose power. You don't have power for You don't have power for weeks sometimes. And part of it is it takes time to do the work, but a big part of it is, like I was just saying with the rednecks and chainsaws, it takes time to even get to the work. Right now, I mean, it may be a couple of days before the linemen are even able to gain access to the down power lines and the distribution centers and various facilities that they have to do the work on, because there's shit everywhere. There's trees down, there's flooding, it's a damn mess. That's hard to deal with. Sky News reports Hurricane Milton latest deaths reported. Already deaths are being reported in Florida, and the roof ripped off of the stadium as the storm smashes across the state. Live coverage of Milton, for what Joe Biden has warned could be the worst storm to hit Florida in over a century. Okay, so that's the basic coverage on the storm itself. Willem9 says, I'm not a troll. It's okay, Willem. It's okay. We enjoy our trolls here. We do. Be proud. It's not something the ogre shies away from. But that's basic coverage on the storm, what's happening. We will talk more about it once we get Florida Man back and make sure that he and his family are all alive and well and kicking. But this article from Sky News mentions that Biden says that it could be the worst storm to hit Florida in over a century. And as high as the view count there is spiking for me, I want to retread some ground we covered yesterday, because there's been a lot of criticism of the of Biden and Harris in their response to the hurricane, in their response to the Appalachian situation from Helene, right? And it has been, I'm not going to rehash all the conspiracy theory stuff that we talked about yesterday, but the fact is they were slow to react. They've reacted badly, and their political optics are atrocious. Right after Alejandro Mayorkas came out and said, "Hey, FEMA doesn't have any money," and they're getting criticism because, okay, FEMA says they're going to run out of money, that they don't have enough money to deal with the hurricane season this year. And of course, there's reasonable criticism because this is in the wake of the U.S. spending billions and billions and billions of dollars on Joe Biden's war in the Ukraine, right? Make no mistake. The conflict in Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine, that is Joe Biden's war. He caused that to happen. He directly interfered and used U.S. foreign policy to create the circumstances for that conflict. That is it's not his fault. It was his objective. They wanted to trade the Afghan war for a war that could threaten to get more European countries and the UN involved. Now, so billions to Ukraine, billions in Israel, again, funded and enabled by the Biden regime. Billions to illegal aliens. Seeing a pattern here? The Biden regime, which includes Kamala Harris, who has constantly reminded us that she's the last person in the room, that she's the big decision maker. And Joe just came out and said that again recently, that, yeah, Kamala has been intimately involved in all of this decision making. They are creating the problems into which they are funneling our money. And you've got people on the right criticizing the regime for wasting tax money and causing us to run out of money so that FEMA doesn't have the funding that it should to deal with disasters like Helene, like Milton, right? And then the pushback from the left is, that money was already earmarked. That money was already designated. That money was already defined in the budget, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, there's a couple things there. The first correct rebuttal for the less informed, for those not paying attention, the easy correct rebuttal is, now hold on. The president has the authority to redirect those funds in time of crisis. But let me really clarify something for you guys. It is not the case that we ran out of money because the government had all this money and they spent it willy-nilly and just ran out, right? It's not like I had $300 cash and I went to I went to the bar and I had to quit drinking because I ran out of money. No. They printed money we didn't have to spend on Ukraine, on Israel, on Lebanon, on hostile foreign aliens, hostile foreign invaders not legally present in this country. And yes, that includes the Haitians in Springfield. Every time you hear these sons of bitches say, oh, well, those aren't illegal immigrants in Springfield. Yes, they are. Well, they have a temporary protected status. Okay. They were granted a temporary protected status. They came here illegally, were relocated by the Harris administration, and then granted temporary protected status. So whenever somebody says, oh, the Haitians in Springfield are not illegal immigrants, let me clarify something for you. That is the same legally. That is the same as saying that you've got a murderer, somebody who was convicted, dead to rights. We know he killed him. No, he didn't. And for whatever reason, he gets a presidential pardon. He was pardoned. He is no longer legally considered a convicted murderer. Released from prison, good to go. It doesn't change the fact that the person he killed is dead. It doesn't change what he did. When you tell me that the illegal aliens in Springfield, Ohio, have temporary protected status, that does not change the fact that they came here illegally. That does not change the fact that they are hostile foreign invaders. Now, back to the point about printing money. And then I'm gonna put a button in this and try to get back onto the phone to John and Mario and see if I can track them down. Our government was happy to print money, to put you in debt in order to send money to Ukraine, Lebanon, Israel. And they don't, so the thing you got to understand about that, they don't send them money. They send them vouchers that they can use to buy. Basically, it's an IOU where Ukraine can go to a U.S. weapons manufacturer and say, hey, I want this many bombs. I want this many rifles. And then the federal government prints the money to pay the weapons manufacturer. And these aren't mom and pop manufacturing shops, right? They're not willing to print money for white people in Appalachia who are starving and drowning, because those people are not likely to put that money directly back into the Democrat money laundering operation. It's that simple. They're not willing to print money for you. They're happy to devalue your life savings, your retirement accounts, your investments, your property values, your buying power, raise your prices, inflate your economy out of reach, destroy the likelihood of your livelihood and the maintenance of your lifestyle. They are happy to do all of that in service of any foreign nation that's willing to launder that money back into a Democrat coffer. but they cannot fathom spending money on you. Now let's pretend for just a moment that they had the money to begin with instead of just printing it, instead of just inflating the currency out of your pockets. Understand what that would mean. Every dollar that the government spends came into its hands in one of two ways. Either the printing press went brrr, and they stole value from your work by deflating the value of your currency, or they pointed a gun at you and took it under threat of death. That's what taxes are. You'll often hear people say that taxation is theft. Funny thing about that, thieves are sneaky. Our government just holds a gun and says, pay me or die. I don't want to pay taxes. Well, you go to jail. I don't want to go to jail. It's that simple. You are extorted. You are robbed. Your government has abused you, continues to abuse you. And that's the world we live in right now. And we are hoping and praying for a government whose track record is not just incompetence, but intentional abuse. And we're hoping and praying for them to do the right thing by disaster victims who statistically are likely to vote against them. Excuse me. Better pray hard on that one, guys. You're hoping for an incompetent government that hates you to do what is right, where doing nothing has the clearest probable political benefit for the regime. That's some scary shit right there. That's a good reason to stock up. That's a good reason to be ready. Be smart. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it there. As we get closer and closer to the election, there are some things I want to do. I had a plan, and the hurricane kind of came in and screwed it up. My plan had been, I'd written down all 50 states and what the early election dates were for them, and I was going to do a live stream on each day that a state was beginning its early elections, and just say, "Oh, hey, call into the show. I will. I'm in the command center right now. I will look up your voting location and tell you how to go vote. If you don't know how to go vote for Donald Trump, I will tell you how, where, when, and why to vote for Donald Trump." And that's your who, right? There's your five. What was. Now, losing power, being out of business for 2 weeks, kind of put a damper on that plan. So I'm going to readjust how I'm going to present that, and look for me. Look for those shows to go live. At a minimum, I'll be doing one on October 15th, which is when we start early voting. And I got to look at some logistics. I don't know if I will do that from the field or if I'll do that from the studio, but we'll see how that one works out as we get everything put back together after the storm. So thanks for tuning in this morning, guys. We love you. Y'all be safe. We will see you tomorrow. Okay. Last thing. Waller, Waller points this out. This great comment, and absolutely remember, being prepared for one area does not equate to being prepared for an alternate area. Okay, I'm gonna stick with you a few minutes. Let's talk about PACE plans. The PACE plan concept is something we bring from good old Uncle Sam from the Army. Primary, alternate, contingency, emergency, right? So, for example, you're setting up mission. Your primary, you have a PACE plan for your comms. You have a PACE plan for your weapons, right? You carry a main battle rifle. You carry a sidearm, right? Carry a combat knife, maybe some grenades, but so your primary, main battle rifle, right? Alternate, sidearm, right? Your Beretta maybe. Contingency, that's going to be your combat knife. Emergency, that's your hand-to-hand combat training, right? Your comms, you've got a secure radio comms. That's your primary. Alternate, secure comms aren't working. Okay, then we switch to using brevity codes in clear comms, in unsecure comms, right? Okay, so the fill's not working. Drop fill. The radio still works. We can use that for our alternate comms until we get our primary comms secure again. The radios are just dead. Somebody put a bullet through the radio battery. You got your cell phone. Time to send a text message to the first sergeant. Call the command or something. And emergency, that's very, very situationally dependent, but it's usually something like smoke signals or using your turn signals to indicate direction of fire in a convoy, stuff like that. So primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. Okay. Emergency preparedness. Primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. Right? Your primary might be, okay, the power is out. First, we're going to eat as much of the perishable food. We're going to keep the fridge closed. We're going to use the perishable food first. And we're going to be smart. Right? We're going to eat the fresh veggies that are going to go bad first. We're going to bring out the frozen steaks to thaw last. Right? There's your primary. Alternate, something like MREs, meal kits, right? Your survival.com, whatever, civilian MREs, whatever it is that you've got stocked up there. And then, like in my house, we have about a month's worth of rice and beans and coffee in gamma sealed 5-gallon buckets. For that's that contingency. So primary, you just eat the groceries, use the groceries up, right? Alternate, now you're into your MREs and stuff. Contingency. Okay, now we're breaking open the gamma sealed 5-gallon buckets, and we're boiling rice and we're boiling water on the campfire, or on the propane grill, whatever we need to do to cook those. Emergency. Bambi is the emergency. Now, let's be fair, around here, Bambi is a primary as well, but you need to have that mindset. After something like a hurricane situation, if the power's out for a month, after a storm that tore your land apart, your emergency fallback is not, oh, well, I've got enough ground I could grow my own food on. No, that shit takes time. You got to go kill something. You got to get out there and find a Bambi or a Thumper, right? Or Chip and Dale, and put their asses on the griddle. Now, you can know that, but it is not sufficient to know it. You have to be prepared to do it. I'm not talking about some esoteric bullshit about, well, you need to get right in your heart with the fact that your life requires the taking of it. No. I mean, you have to go buy a fucking gun and ammo and have it on hand so that if you got no power, you got no water, you got no refrigerator work, you got nothing left, that rifle will feed your family. If you can't think of any other reason to vote against gun-grabbing Kamala Harris, she's in office right now. It's not reasonable to pretend like Joe Biden is the president anymore. Kamala is, they clearly just kind of shuffled him off into the corner. And there are people who are starving to death, drowning. They are dying because she won't get her shit together and do the job that we expect of her, to do the job that she was not elected for, given. And her promise to you is that if she is elected, she will take from you your means of mere survival. It really is that simple. So get your pace plan together, guys. Oh, that'll be a show that we'll do in the as soon as we've got Mario back online, and that'll be a triple threat show. Mario, Cameron, and Lowry, and we'll talk about survival pace planning. The CDC used to run a program, and CDC government, but I actually found it pretty clever. So little anecdote, little story. I was at Dragon Con. It's almost 10 years ago. It was kind of at the height of the Walking Dead craze, and there was a zombie survival group there. And I went over to check out their table and see what they were about. And what I was expecting, frankly, I was expecting to walk up and find a LARP group. Like, I was expecting that they'd have like a game going where they take over a state park and, free to play if you're a zombie, but you pay to play as a survivor, type of stuff. And I thought, that might be fun. I went over and started talking to them. No, what they do, they're basically a society of war gamers in the sense that they get together and discuss disaster preparedness. They call themselves a zombie survival group because they use the specter of the zombie apocalypse and that whole fantasy genre as the ultimate disaster survival situation. And they explained, you see, in a zombie apocalypse, as it's presented in fantasy and science fiction, it is essentially a natural disaster, a plague, a pandemic, a government collapse, a grid down disaster. It's basically all of the disasters that a prepper might prep for rolled into one disaster. That's why the zombie apocalypse was good for that. And the CDC actually had a program based around that concept. And these guys would do stuff like go and run survival training scenarios and teach people about, if you're in Conyers, Georgia, and Biolab catches on fire and the smoke is so thick and dense and dangerous that it's not even safe to evacuate, well, here's how you identify all the places in the house where you need to duct tape plastic bags over the vents and over the cracks in the doors to keep that shit from getting in. That's, they'd go down the whole thing. How to store food safely, how to store ammo safely. Hey, learn to shoot, right? Like I was talking about a minute ago, being ready to hunt in the event that you lose access to grocery stores and whatnot. Y'all, having a gun on hand, having some ammo on hand, right? That's one thing, but can you shoot? Yeah, go buy the equipment you need, have the equipment on hand, and then get your ass out on the range and make sure you know how to hit what you're shooting at. And that's for two reasons. If you can't hit the deer, you can't eat the deer. And the other thing is, you never miss when you fire a gun. You might not hit what you were aiming at, but you're going to hit something. You're going to hit something. So, thanks for that little trip down the rabbit hole, courtesy of our good friend Waller here. And yeah, he's absolutely right. Being prepared for one thing does not equate to being prepared for an alternate thing. Yeah, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. 4-part plan for each aspect, right? So, all right, this time I really am going to hang up the phone. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you. We'll see you tomorrow.